Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. Really? What's happening?
I have no clue. The thing that I'm just like at home doing my thing. What really is throwing me lately is the weather. Yesterday I was broiling. Today it's pouring rain.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
been pouring here in San Diego County, and it has been flooding because our ground is so dry. And then all of a sudden it gets this massive amount of rain and they don't know how to accept it and, how to absorb it, just like life. A lot of people don't know how to absorb it. Nikki Wouters.
That is true.
I know. So where we at, Brains? We here on the edge, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull, and we get it in. Okay. We're going to talk to Nikki today. Nikki is also going to pull a tarot card for me. I'm going to ask her a little bit about how she got in that space and, what does she say to the people that don't believe it? There's a lot of people that don't believe it, and it's okay. You get what you get. But she lives a very colorful life, as you can tell by her green ombre on social media. I want to ask her about that too. What's the value in that? How does that make her feel? What is she pouring into others, into the world? And, her body art. I want to ask her about her body art because that's beautiful too. But Nikki helps us to make decisions and stop procrastinating. Quit meeting on the meeting and see what you're meeting about and just do it. Yes, it's scary, but life is a journey and you got to be a risk taker. How many of you have been to Las Vegas? I don't know. They don't have a Las Vegas down there in Australia. What do they have? Do people go down there gambling? What do they do down there?
I think there are some major casinos. I don't gamble or drink at all, so it's never interested me.
Oh my God. Well, what does they say? Good on you. Because I'll have your drink and I'll roll your dice. I like both.
When I was over in the US, I actually was in Reno for a while, and the hotel we stayed at was in a casino. And yeah, it was a real strange experience for someone who does not drink, does not gamble. I was like, where's the food at?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the buffet. I'm headed to Vegas to see Bruno Mars, so there's some good entertainment down there too. So let's talk about you, Sunshine. How did you find yourself in this space?
I think I found myself because I was lost for a long time, and that seems really dramatic. I know when people say things like that, but when I left school, because I was reflecting on my life, knowing that I was going to be jumping on this call with you, and I was like, I left high school in survival mode. I was like, where's stability? Where's safety? Where's certainty? And where's good enough? And that led me to teaching, and beautiful profession, took me around the world, learned so many skills that I'm like really appreciative of for today. Obviously, as a coach, as an educator, as someone online doing this work, valuable. But my soul was dim, my creativity was not there. And what you see today did not exist. I was like black and white life living. So it was that rediscovery for me. And I'm actually getting a little bit like, because too often we don't reflect on where we've come from and like the significance of those moves.
Well, you're living it in Technicolor now, baby. Okay. Why green? Green is my favorite color, but why green?
It's so fascinating because I've done every color except green. And I was at my hairdresser and I've been talking about it for the last a few sessions. And I kept saying it. And then I went in last time and I was like, let's double down. I'm going to go green and get a fringe. And then now, again, looking back, it was probably my intuition choosing green because this year I'm getting into gardening. I've got all these plants around me. And one of my beautiful clients told me that the chakra for the heart is green. And I was like, oh, I remember making that shift right at the end of last year, being like, it has to be heartfelt. It has to be soul led. It needs to be like all of me in. And of course, the universe was like, let's double down on that. Green
Okay.
hair, plants, gardening, all the things. I actually found this oracle, which is magical herb oracle.
Oh, wow.
So everything's coming up green this year.
Wow. Well, that's good. Are you married? Do you have children?
So I have a partner and we don't plan to have children, but we are planning, because we love each other, to get some custom rings. And marriage is just one of those things. It's like, it's not a yes or a no. It's just like, yes, if we choose to. So
Okay. Well, all
nice.
right. So you're a very progressive thinker. That's good. My daughter doesn't want kids either. I was so kind of upset. But she said, Mom, think of the world today. She says, here in America, I'd be scared to send my kid to school because kids are shooting kids at school. The water is tainted. The food is no good. She said, the political climate. She said, you can't afford anything. She said, so really, what would I be bringing this human being in the world to look forward to?
Yeah.
So, I look at that and I'm glad that she has enough wherewithal to make that decision instead of just doing it based upon what I want, a grandchild.
Yeah.
She said she'll give me a grandpuppy. I'll take it. I'll take it. So now you are in this space.
Mhm.
Within the last 12 months, you said you've come to realization. You've walked through the meditation door. You are at your rite of passage. You're at the crossroads. What
Mhm.
sparked that change? Just an epiphany? Just one day you woke up with a wild green hair up your ass and said, oh, this is something new. This is what I'm going to do. What was the breaking point? What caused you to change?
Yeah, it was totally a few things. And one of them, interestingly, was I hadn't realized at the time. That's like a common theme in my life. I didn't know at the time, but I kept trying to escape teaching by taking part-time jobs or moving overseas, or I went on a big hike in America for 4.5 months because that's what people do. And when I was coming back on one of those trips, I walked into an art gallery, and the lady that actually was running that space, she did classes. And at that point, I hadn't done any art for like 10 years because I had just shut it off. Like, creativity, painting, that's what you do when you're retired. Forget about it. And it really reinvigorated me to be like, what do I want? Not just what should I do? What's the logical path, but where am I in my life? And I always look back and know that that was the point where I was like, finally choosing me again, and not just either escaping from teaching and then going back to it because I thought I had no other choice. And it was still 5 years from that point to get to leaving teaching and pursuing art as a job, which eventually led me to pursuing coaching and being a mentor as my profession. But I can give all of that credit to Louise, who is the lady who ran that gallery, and we're still connected today. So that was the turning point. Creativity does spark back in my heart.
Well, you're also led by something else that you do, and I don't know if you do it as a religious discipline or a guiding principle or just for fun, but you are into the tarot.
I am, yes.
Talk about that.
Well, I actually got my first Oracle deck when I was 15, and I was a huge fantasy nerd as well, which makes sense because I write fantasy novels, but it was just an escape for me. It was, again, one of those things where I fully believed it. I fully loved it. I knew, even though I couldn't language it then, that that was my intuition going, head in this direction. But I just wrote it off. Who could possibly do that as a job? That's not something you tell people about. So I'd been developing that skill for, now it's 17 years. And it is a part of actually how I run my business. I use it in my planning. I use it on my calls. Every call I run, actually, I pull a card, which I'm going to pull a card for you as well. So that's just totally on brand for me. And it's truly something that allows us to get out of our minds, into our hearts, into our souls. And it's so on point, whether you believe in magic and woo-woo and the universe and all that sort of stuff, because many of my clients didn't or still don't. But for me, it's like, even if you just believe in the psychology of looking at images and colors and words and seeing where they go in your mind and what they trigger, it's powerful work. You can't deny that.
Okay, well, you said trigger. I'm gonna see if you can hit me like a semi-automatic weapon. All right, I'm ready for you to pull the cards and tell me exactly what you see.
So I love to give a choice. Would you prefer, and like ask your intuition this question, an oracle card or a tarot card?
Tarot.
Okay. This is actually a deck I bought when I was traveling in the US. So it's the Bianco Nero Tarot, which means the black and white. So all the pictures.
Very simple. Black and white, brains.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what is coming up and through for April today? Ooh. And I pull a second just for a clarifier to see how that one jumped out.
Now you say how they jump out. People say that. I'm thinking you're just dropping the card. What is that? I mean, whatever falls out is pretty much the hand you're dealt, right?
I take it as such. Like, we can obviously doubt and question ourselves in anything, like not just in shuffling a deck of cards, but is that a miracle? Is that a synchronicity? Is it a coincidence? Or am I just BSing myself? But I think part of life is, well, what do you choose to believe? Are you going to make that significant? Are you going to respond to that in a way that empowers you? Or are you going to dismiss what you're thinking and feeling? Because I always believe if we intuit or something comes to us and it feels right, we need to trust that feeling. And it's a disservice for us to doubt ourselves, even as something as simple as a card flipping out and saying, is that significant or not? What do you choose? Bit of a tangent
for me. What flipped for me?
Yeah. So you've got one that shuffled out and one that flipped out. So I love it. And the card that's come through is the Eight of Swords. I'll hold that up for everyone.
Oh, I've seen that before.
She is a beautiful card and often representing we are the only thing that gets in our way, and more specifically our thoughts. When we feel blinded, when we feel like there is no way through, it comes down to, well, what are we thinking? What are we actually stacking against ourselves? And the actually amazing thing about this card is that it's super empowering as well, because it emphasizes you are never the victim in this circumstance, because you always have the capacity and the capability to free yourself. So whether that's resonating with you or whether that's a conversation you've been having in your life at the moment with some people, very much the sense of leading with empowerment, leading with where are our thoughts at and what are we choosing. So that is epic. And then the card that flipped is the Five of Pentacles, and it's upside down, which can be read many ways. But this one in particular is about lack mindset. It's about scarcity. And it's, again, like, this is the card of, you know, the victim. I'm out in the cold. I have no resources or recourse. What do I do? Hand in hand, these cards go, regardless of those circumstances, outside. Your power lies inside.
Okay. All right. Well, I get it, because I feel like a nuclear bomb. Really, I have just kind of been struggling with one thing, and I just get my head around it, and it's going to be fine. But for the most part, I do feel empowered. I have, on the opposite end of the spectrum, always felt that power since I was a child, 4 or 5 years old. I always knew that I had a certain amount of courage. I was the only child. And I would get bullied sometime in school. But you know what? I didn't take that bully shit. I fought back. I did. I found it within me to do that. And so a lot of times people need direction. They need support. They're walking around like a one-legged stool. There's no balance in their life. So you take these people from cradle to grave. You go deep inside their psyche. You provide them insight with either an oracle card or a tarot card. You coach them with business, and you also nurture them from your teaching environment. How is that all making you feel right now? Are you feeling, are you feeling overwhelmed sometimes you got to be honest with yourself. That's a lot to juggle.
That it is a lot to juggle. And I think last year, because the end of 2021 is when I left teaching behind, I said, I'm stepping out, I'm stepping in. Last year was my first full-time year in business. And at the start, I was freaking out internally. Like, of course, I was showing up, I was doing the work, I was serving my clients, to my full capacity, which was awesome. And yet behind the scenes, my fingers are crossed going, I hope I don't run out of money. I hope I'm not in that position where I feel out in the cold. And it took my partner piping up and going, babe, this is your first full-time year in business. And the year is over now. And you made it. You paid yourself a wage. You paid all our bills. You've got more savings than you did when you were a teacher. You're happier. You're healthier. You're back into painting and creativity. Like, there's only wins here that I see. Yes, there were so many challenges, but it really just highlighted for me, like, all my doubts and fears were still just in my mind, because on what I was doing out in the world was exactly what I wanted to be doing. And stepping into this year, my real lesson in learning is to get out of my own freaking way, that I need to be conscious and on top of those thoughts. And I think that's a lesson for everyone. It's like, regardless of the situation you're in, you need to be hyper aware of where your thoughts are at, because your thoughts are creating your reality. And, we hear that all the time, whether it's a quote on Instagram or someone like drops it into a conversation, but it's another thing to believe that and to go like, okay, well, if I don't like where I'm at, I can look inwards, I can do some work. Like, yes, you can go to a coach or read a book or watch a podcast or listen to a podcast, but also the power stays in your hands. And I'm just really excited for this year, even though I have no clue of where it's going, because I finally feel that I've dropped like 75% of my baggage and I'm just like lighter than I've ever been.
Okay. Living your life out loud. You are an influence and quite a force on social media. I see a lot of different poses. I see a lot of different posts, a lot of different comments. What do you think really about the world of social media? What would you say to the person, and I'm not saying this to you, I say with love, that find that it's more of an exhibition. It's more of another form of validation. I'm substantial. I'm here. I'm visible to you, because the device can also be very hypnotic.
Definitely. And I think, again, it just leads straight back inwards and go, where are your thoughts at? How are you showing up on social media? And I was that person for a long time. I wanted to be authentic. And I knew as a business owner on the internet, especially during the times we've had recently in the last few years, we had to be on the internet. It felt very out of alignment. I was smiling when I was sad. I was saying empowering stuff when I was disempowered. But again, that is a choice. Like, the switch that's been flipped for me recently, and I've been very fortunate to pass it along to my clients, is you get to define what social media means to you. And when someone is coming at you with their perception, whether it is positive, negative, or different, it's still only just their perception. And we get to make it whatever we need it to be.
No. I don't agree with that, Miss Nikki. It's not just one person's perception. People forget how many people are watching you. There's 88 billion people on the planet, and at least 5 billion on Facebook. No, I'm serious. And it impacts and influences people to the point where these young girls are having body dysmorphia, where people are dying by suicide, and they are being influenced by the influencers that are making the money or singing the songs or wearing the clothes. That's why I said this device can be hypnotic. It can keep a person's source of psychology or therapy. And it's really odd, because me personally, if I don't like what somebody say, I don't read it. I think exactly. I block it. But there are a lot of people in the world, and a lot of young people, that just suck it up like a straw, and it's dangerous there. So they need to have a sense of balance. Parents, you need to be on that device. You're not going to tell me that I can't look at your phone and I'm paying the bill. No. I've got a friend right now that's got a child that's in crisis, and he swears to me, no, not my child. No, 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 no. I know everything. I know everything. You don't know everything that somebody else is doing. You never know what somebody else is doing. So pay attention. So now you are able to look at situations, people, places, and things with an eagle eye view. What can we expect when we work with you as a coach? You know, because
So
coach is a heavy responsibility too. You have my life, you have my money, you have my career, and then you got me in this Bengali too.
I think it's so fascinating when we think about like how we work with a coach, because often the people that I was working with at the start, it was exactly that. It's just like, come in my life and save me. Like, I'm giving you everything. And it's just, what do I need to do? And I love where I've gotten in my business, where it's like, it is so much more about the partnership in business, yes, but then empowering you to know what your choices need to be and listening to your intuition. I think that is the greatest gift. It's like, okay, let's discover what you want, how you want it, how you want to get there. And of course, I have frameworks and tools and classes that I run that support and guide that. But there is nothing more important to me for my clients than saying, okay, but let's build your self-trust. Let's build your self-confidence. And let's get you to the point where we are still deeply heart connected, but you don't need me there to be that guiding light for you. We're just walking, in the same direction, which is really fun. So,
Right, because you're working in parallel. A lot of times you find that people want to change. What I'm hearing you say is that I don't want to change, I want to enhance. I want to shine a spotlight on you so that you know. But in addition to that, I'm going to give you some walkaways. I'm going to give you some tools to take with you and some insight that is going to be embedded in your psyche for the rest of your mind, for the rest of your life. And, you're going to quiet some of that mind chatter and really use your internal compass to figure out the direction of where you want to be. Because we all get lost. We all get confused. We've all had trauma, but we also had joy. Tell me one of the greatest success stories that you've had with one of your clients. What's just lit you up and made you feel that you really accomplished something?
I there's so many micro things, because it isn't the big thing of like, oh, I made 10K, or my client saying I've got 10 clients. For me, it's those moments where they see that learning click into the place, that realization of the pattern is broken. One of my clients, she was struggling with just even the belief of that she was worthy to be in business. She kept like, she's in my business mastermind. We're talking about business. We're coaching on business. We're running events for her business. And in the back of her mind, she kept calling it a hobby. It's just a hobby. It's this side hustle. It's this thing. And she had never actually claimed the title of business owner. She
That's
kept
right. You
holding
got to
back.
name it. You got to name it, and you have to claim it. Absolutely.
It was literally pivotal. We refer to that session as like the moment I decided I was a business owner, and things changed from that point. And not just in herself and in her confidence, literally what she was doing in her business changed, because it was no longer performative. It was actually like soul aligned, and like, oh, if this is serious, I'm going to seriously do, what I want to be doing. And yeah, for me, that's the highlight that stands out in this moment, knowing and trusting there's like a million more.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's enough. It's just if we impact and change and influence one human being on this planet, we have done our duty, because each one must teach one. Do you believe in unconditional love? I don't.
Let me sit with that for a second. Left field.
And I'll color in the white space. You know why? Because life is based upon our experiences, our boundaries, our journey, our trauma, our love, our expectations, all of that is the recipe for love. If any one of those things is extracted or manipulated or controlled in a way that does not feel good to us, then we immediately shut down or, put up this wall. But then people say, oh, but I'm going to love you anyway. I'll like you. I won't bother you and harass you. But that deep rooted, that deep seated agape love, I don't know. I put that on the shelf somewhere else. I put that at the highest form of flattery and connectivity. I hold it sacred. And a lot of people just say, oh no, I don't judge and I have unconditional love. I don't know. I think they're a little disingenuous.
Yeah, as you've unpacked that and your perspective and opinion, it's like, I think it's possible. I think it's the same thing as like that nirvana. Like, yeah, sure, some enlightened person who has gone through something epic and extraordinary out of this world that is like a spiritual evolution. I don't believe it doesn't exist. I think for us messy, normal human beings, does it serve? And does it serve from a place of authenticity? I don't, yeah, I'm very much on that same page there of like,
I don't believe that I don't think that it doesn't exist. But I hold it sacred for others. It's like, somebody will come over to your house and there'll be somebody that you'll serve a beer, and then there's another person that you'll serve Chardonnay, and then there's somebody else that you serve champagne. It's different levels of that, and you seem to be at a very, I say tender age, because I'm 60 years old. I'm a senior citizen. And so I know that I've got at least 40 years of wisdom that surpasses others. So that's why I kind of edit and filter, the things in my life. I really sit back when I turned 60 and had an epiphany. I had to ask myself, really, what's important? What's the value? How are you going to respond to certain things? Because you have a choice. Now, you've given me insight from a tarot card. What I do with that is totally up to me, how I, perceive that. Same with all of your other clients that you do. It's how you process it. What are you going to do with this information? Because it's a gift. Who pours into you, Nikki? Who keeps you strong?
I can definitely immediately just say my partner. I've never been in a relationship where there's that level of he's there even when I'm not there for me, which is just epic to know that there is that person who is responding where I'm at, knowing and trusting that I'm going to get through this and I'm going to move forward. And I'm just like eternally grateful to have him in my life. And I just want to like acknowledge you for bringing out that question in me, because it's not often that I get to share just how much he means to me. So I love this moment. Thank you.
Well, I know, I got these two back here. They're my inspiration. I've been married 38 years to a man that just really lights my torch. But I don't think that he would be as effective. And I'm assuming that your partner wouldn't be as effective until you had found that self-love, because now you know what your expectation is. You know what it is that makes you feel good. You know what it is that makes you feel unconditional love. Somebody come in and they're drunk and they're wailing on you. They're not paying the bills. They're, verbally abusing you. There's no unconditional love for them. They got to beat it. They got to go. So, but you know how you feel about you, and you know how he or your partner, I'm just assuming, magnifies that feeling, resonates that feeling.
Really?
So let's ask you some fun questions.
Okay.
Okay. If you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be, Nikki?
A dandelion, even though that might not be in the garden, technically.
Really? You want to be a dandelion? So when the wind blows, you're just free to just go wherever?
I love so many things about them, but our yard, our entire lawn, is dandelions when I don't mow. And I just love that pop of color that they close up at night and they open up in the morning, just excited for the sun. And there is that evolution and transformation to them. Like even at the end of their life, they're going to be scattered far and wide. And yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
me.
sweet. You were an appliance in the kitchen. What appliance would you be?
Ooh. I would be, I don't use many appliances in the kitchen, but I think I would be a kettle because I love a gorgeous cup of tea.
Oh, I know. I'd be the teapot also because I'm hot and steamy. I like to spout off. So we definitely have a kindred spirit when it comes to that. What brings you the greatest joy? Not your partner, not your business. What's your guilty pleasure? What really brings you joy?
Ooh. Reading, well, for about 10 years, I was reading fan fiction. But lately I've been
My
getting
daughter's
into
into that too. She likes that. She's a
yeah.
LARPer and all that stuff. So yeah, I get
Oh,
it.
awesome. That's cool. So yeah, that fantasy escape for me. And lately it's been turning to fairy romance novels because TikTok has conditioned me to want to read those.
Okay, all right. Now you mentioned TikTok. You know, I
Mhm.
was talking to some other young people, and they say they like their information now in bite-sized pieces. They don't want a heavy load. You know, they don't want to sit and watch the major television networks anymore. They want something quick and slick. What do you think about that? Do you think that there might be something that could be missed? Or do you think that that's all I need to know? Just give me a blurb, give me the facts, boom, move on. It's like a computer, you know, just give me a zing, a zat, and that's it. Or do you think that they need the full spectrum?
I immediately, it's full spectrum. That's my response because it's easy to tick and, like, oh, I learned about that, tick and flick, move on, move on, move on, move on. And there's no integration, there's no implementation. You can know a lot of stuff. We can all be like libraries in our mind, but if it's not sinking in to how we're showing up and how we're acting and what it means to us, like, I think it's just a lot of wasted space in our heads. So whilst I enjoy some of the videos on TikTok, for me, it's actually something I'm cutting out of my life pretty drastically this year because for the most part, it is brain numbing entertainment. And I prefer a good book while I'm taking notes on it. So I know I'm actually embedding what I need to embed. So that's very much my take on that.
I'm looking at your art. What type of things inspire you? Now I'm looking at this one particular picture behind you. And
Mm-hmm.
when at first glance, I thought it was this abstract. Now I'm seeing an eye. Now I'm seeing maybe a horse, maybe a lion. Art is so subjective
Mm-hmm.
to what a person may be thinking at any given moment. It's like a song. You know, it might have meant one thing, and then after you've heard it 10 times and you've made love to it, it means something totally different to you. What is your inspiration, and what was the inspiration for that piece that I'm looking at now?
Are we talking about this beautiful
Yes.
one right here?
Yeah, that's
Um,
beautiful.
Thank you. This particular painting had about 5 different lives. Very, very different colors, different inspirations. As I was exploring what abstract as a style meant to me, and this painting is actually entitled "Breaking Free" because it was in the year where I left a partner, left my job, and at the end of that year, I actually moved back to the city to pursue being an entrepreneur. So for me, this is cosmic, it is evolution, and it is just the breaking apart so that there can be a new coming together.
Well, that's beautiful because I see a lot, like I said, I see a lot of different things in that actual imagery. What would you say to a young woman that's where you were? Or maybe what would you say to a 25-year-old Nikki?
Ooh. I don't think I'd say anything to 25-year-old Nikki because she was not in a place to listen. And I don't mean that in I don't care about myself way, but simply I was closed off to the possibility of change. So maybe just the hug for 25-year-old me.
Mm.
I think I was in China at the time, actually, and it was an adventure, but probably one of the saddest times of my life mentally. But a young woman, where I was or heading in the direction I was heading, is don't put your creativity or your passions on hold, because those are actually the stepping stones to where you want to be heading.
Okay. Well, I can appreciate that. Well, you are headed for the stars. And I thank you so much for joining me here on The Edge, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Please, please, please share with my brains how to get in contact with you so that they can do a deeper dive, so they can figure out and explore some options and some opportunities, uncover who they are or who they are meant to be, or just kind of balance out with the person that they are. How do they contact you, Nikki?
Well, luckily, I've streamlined this. So if you want to find me on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, my handle is at nikki.wouters.intuition. And I would absolutely adore if you vibe with me, or if you sensed something within me that could help you. I'd love to connect with you over there, and let me know where you found me, because that would be fun.
Absolutely. Right here on The Edge. Brains, I need you to do what I need you to do. I need you to love, like, and subscribe. You see that information? It's right in your face. Love, like, subscribe, share this information. You don't know what you don't know. I tell you that all the time. Uh, get into the real deal. Have some fun. Explore some color in your life. Take a chance. That's what it's all about. Maybe you even want to dye your hair. Talk to you soon, Nikki. Thank you, precious.
Thank you so much, April.
All right. Bye, brains.